The Wi-Fi password. Your access has been granted. I'm Ask Ashley.
I'm Michaela.
I'm Tina Story.
You guys, unfortunately, last night, February 22nd, at 10:50 p.m., 70-year-old model, restaurant owner, TV host, and author B. Smith died. According to reports from her husband, who I'm not a fan of, but 26 years of marriage, 27 years together, and she was diagnosed in 2014 with early onset Alzheimer's. And then in 2016, her and her husband released their first book together that talked about, experiencing life together with someone who has Alzheimer's. So it's called Before I Forget. But before he forgot, he was married. 2018, he decided to bring German radio host Alex Lerner into the couple's home. She has her own room. Right. She has her own room, and according to husband Dan Gadsby, his wife, who is not medically sound to make her own medical decisions, was sound enough to give him permission to move
the other woman.
Yeah, before I say what I want to say, to move her in.
He didn't even last 4 years. That's what makes me mad.
Mm-hmm. He didn't last 4 years
Like,
at all.
now you ain't been doing this for 20 years. You couldn't even do it for 4 years. And he had to be scouting her before she moved in. So it was really like 2.
You already know. He was scouting her while they was working on the book together. But did you guys see the interview that they did? And someone asked her in the interview, how would you feel about Dan bringing in help? And she gave him a very serious, well thought out, stern look that said, we gonna move a little slow with that one. And then 2 years later, I don't even think it was 2 years after that interview, like a year later after the interview.
Mm-hmm. So she didn't want help, and let alone a new girlfriend. Like, why she stand up for polyamory now? Like, you just forced her into being a sister wife, and now Alzheimer's. They snap back in and they start to remember everything. Yeah. And B. Smith suffered with short-term memory loss, not long-term.
That's right. So for 26 years, that was her husband, and in these last 4, that was her husband. But you see a lot of clips. What really irritates me is you see a lot of clips of them exploiting her in her moment of ailment like this. Mm-hmm. And she's rubbing this woman's head. She's caressing this woman as if this is a new Barbie doll he just brought home for her. Like, that's what's throwing me off. This is a woman who was sharp from head to toe, who was sexy, who was vibrant, full of life and laughter.
Successful.
Very successful. Very, very successful.
Very, very disheartening. And then these fools got the nerve to have a damn podcast together.
Capitalizing off of her condition. That's what's mind-blowing.
I hate to say this, but I'm sure Alex woke up this morning and said, Dan, it's finally over.
The voice.
Why does she say it with that voice?
That's how she sounds. We don't appreciate this because B. Smith was a strong woman, and this Dan, he's an Uncle Tom.
I don't know what he is. I just know it's very unfortunate because you could be with someone so long and realize that you're sick and that there's nothing that can be done and you want them to be happy. Mm-hmm. But it's one thing for me to say, when I go, move on. Not while I'm here and you still feeding me and you're still here being a caregiver to me. Move her in and have her taking care of me too. That's just totally different.
He should have got her own place with 24-hour care. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He should. Or not even that. Why don't you just wait? Why don't you wait?
He said he can't be held back. He can't be held down.
I seen an interview where he referenced that, and he said, I don't believe till death do us part actually means that. Well, you only not God, but whatever.
So in vows, we have taken from this that all of them do not matter.
Pretty much, because in addition to the till death do us part, it also says in sickness and in health. So I'm ill.
So he erased what he wanted and he went on about his business and did what he wanted to, regardless of the state that his wife was in. I will be your husband when you are healthy. I will be your husband when we are generating wealth. But when you're sick and that stuff starts to stop,
I will be your caregiver.
I'm going to take you out of the equation. I'm going to bring somebody into the home that can help me keep producing this wealth.
And I'm going to make a podcast with her.
Absolutely.
I'm going to make a podcast with her, and she's going to feed you strawberries. And then my daughter is going to have an interview where she talks to the world about how this is all okay. You know what? I guarantee you, if that daughter was B. Smith's biological child, she would feel a totally different way about the way that her father was going about his actions.
The narrative would have been different.
You see how B. Smith's Twitter account caption, it says B. Smith Dan Gadsby. I bet you anything he gonna take her name off of that parcel. Yeah. And then he didn't get the nerve to have him and her in the photo like they still a couple.
Yeah, it's really like the whole way that he's going about the situation is disrespectful. It's very tasteless. Very, very tasteless. These are the actions that you would consider from an Uncle Tom. I would expect these actions from this kind of a man, to be honest with you. The podcast thing that threw me all the hell way off. That alone just threw me off. But this woman is worth $20 million. And that is the person in her dying days that was left to trust with all of what she accomplished.
Does B. Smith have any biological kids?
No. She doesn't. Man was just left to a greedy little man and his greedy little girl or little
So
girlfriend.
Her legacy is with Dan Gath, the great Gath. Is his nurse girlfriend.
Yes, and Raggedy.
Is that what she was or is?
I guess
no,
she's
not no damn nurse. Y'all know what I'm saying. Get her caring for her.
Right. Okay, I didn't know if that's what she was.
No, she just played the second caregiver. You know what I mean? She just played the second caregiver. But it's really unfortunate because it's like, you look at it from his angle, and it's, first off, it's just disrespectful, again, till death do us part, and in sickness and in health. But you look at it from her angle, and I'm not even gonna lie, it is what it is. You know, some of certain people, you know, they exhibit certain characteristics and certain traits. But you have a woman who knowingly moved into this other woman's house, and then you guys heard of Paul Warren, who is a good friend of B. Smith's, say a couple years ago that he actually saw Alex hit her. He saw her tap, or like kind of pat and spank her hand really quick as she reached
like
over to
the
spank her hand.
Yeah, spank her hand like she's a child, and that's what they kept trying to convince him. They kept saying, she's like a child. She's not a child. She's a grown woman now.
I would have knocked her soul out her body.
I'm serious though. Like, first of all, she's not a child. Now, I will say, because I've dealt with someone who has Alzheimer's, they do kind of resort back to childlike behavior, but they're still adults.
And her role is just too cloudy at this moment for her to be trying to assume any kind of disciplinarian role. But she done moved in while this husband is married, while this lady is still married. You know what God said. You ain't nothing right about what's happening right now.
In the interview that Mr. Warren gave regarding his visit over to B. Smith's house, he even said that the husband sat there, Dan, and he said, she's the sweetest, kindest woman I've ever met. And Alex looked over and said, really, you're saying that while I'm sitting here? You live in this woman's house. You are oochie coochieing with her husband.
Talking about she got a separate bedroom.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he talking about his beautiful black queen who has generated all of this 26 years of happiness, bliss.
This lifestyle he living.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're damn right he gonna sit up there and say she's beautiful and she's sweet and she's kind. And he should feel bad the minute that came out of his mouth, because then you gotta look over at damn Polly Ann while she got an attitude. And just...
I think for me, the most disdain that I have about this whole topic is the disrespect. It's disrespectful. If you decided that this is the way that you were going to go down the road when she got diagnosed, keep that in your home.
Yeah.
Or keep it in your home. Don't use the last years of her life, exploit her in that type of manner. She had too much. She offered the world too much. She gave of herself too much. That is what she should be remembered for.
Yeah.
Not you exploiting her the last 4 years of her, in the state that she was in. That, for me, is disrespectful.
Yeah, it is.
If you don't want to honor your vows, okay. That's fine. But to put her out there like that is disrespectful on so many different levels, and that's what I can't respect.
I mean, you're talking about a woman who came out in her show saying, "Welcome to B. Smith with Styles" in a fur coat. You know what I mean? Or and who was just, again, always so vibrant, so beautiful. Her smile was just amazing. And for you to be showcasing her like this in her last days, it, like you said, it's just completely out of line and
as if to say, with her having Alzheimer's Alzheimer's, she doesn't have love anymore. She doesn't have feelings. Right. She don't know that that's her husband. She obviously knows that that's her husband.
Like she has no value.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like they raising a kid that they just adopted on their own. I mean, that's just really how it's going about it. And
it's shameful.
The daughters, it is. Mm-hmm. And I, again, like from Dan's standpoint of view, it's just totally disrespectful. But from another woman's standpoint of view, I wouldn't have even wanted to deal with that. Mm-mm. You know what I mean? I would not have wanted. I could have been there for you as a friend if we really have fallen in love with each other and we really have these feelings for each other. And I see what you're going through. I can be there for you as a friend until it is our time. But I'm not going to impede on this woman's last days and take her husband from her. Because the reality is, he was her caretaker. He wasn't her husband. And he stopped being her husband when he became somebody's boyfriend.
No, yeah, she got diagnosed.
He ain't stopped being her husband on them paperwork.
On that
he
sure did. He wasn't her. Yeah, he didn't stop being her husband. Not. That's 26 years. That's 26 years that you have lived with someone and shared your life with them all for, like you said, 4 years later. You just couldn't.
He wasn't a ride or die.
I wonder what her family had to say about it. I know she didn't have any biological children, but it's just disheartening for you know, I don't know if she had a mother that was still alive, her father, or, you know, I'm pretty sure she had some type of family.
He probably alienated her from her family a while ago.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
I've never seen any press on her family coming out and saying this is, you know, she's being done wrong. Mostly it's the fans that's noticing stuff, posting clips of her looking very sad. Like one clip in particular, she just held her head and just shook it back and forth and looked down. What can she do?
I mean, with all the disrespect and all the ugliness behind it, I will say that I'm glad that she's free, no longer in any kind of pain, whether that pain was emotional, physical, mental, and just being able to not have to deal with that anymore. I will say, you know, I'm grateful for that when it comes to her, but just to know that within her last days, this is what she went through, that's heartbreaking.
It is.
That's heartbreaking. I couldn't imagine. I ain't even found my husband yet, and I will wear that ass out. You hear me? I will come back with that beautiful smile and them locks and wear his ass out. As unfortunate as this is, you guys, please keep B. Smith's family, like her real ride or dies, and her fans in your thoughts and prayers. But also check us out at www.thewifipassword. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for alerts on our podcast, breaking news, and current events. Hey guys, stay connected.